Welcome back to Badass Women 50 Plus. I am Robin Lane, producer, director, psychotherapist, and creator of this show. And at my age of 87, having as my co-host, actress, award-winning documentarian, political activist Maria Secor, who is young enough to be my granddaughter and who I am letting take over the entire show today, just shows you what a badass I am. Maria will be talking with Sharon McDougle. Sharon's career began in the military as an aerospace physiology technician. She then went on to lead the NASA team responsible for seeing that when astronauts go into space, they are prepared for the flight. She is the first African American in this position. Her journey hasn't been an easy one, and when you hear her story, you will be no less amazed than we were at her resilience and fortitude. Today's program will be entirely devoted to this one exceptional interview.
My name is Sharon McDougle. I am 57 sexy years old, and I live in LaPorte, Texas, which is near Houston, but I am a native of Moss Point, Mississippi.
And now you must tell our viewers, why are you a badass?
I'm a badass because I'm a legend. I'm a history maker, trailblazer. I'm a former Space Shuttle Crew Escape Equipment suit technician / crew chief / manager as I worked my way up the ranks. A few of the responsibilities, the main one being keeping the astronauts safe. The suit you see behind me, that's the advanced crew escape suit in case they have to use it. We hope they never have to use it, but if they do, it'll be ready. That was worn by all astronauts that flew aboard the space shuttle. This one's strictly for launch and re-entry. So we have to make sure we process these suits, we maintain them, we test them, check them, recheck them. And once we suit the crew members up, you do it again.
When did you know what you wanted to do when you grew up?
I did not know right off what I wanted to do when I grew up. As I got closer to my senior year in high school, I started thinking maybe I'll be a kindergarten teacher because I worked so much with the kids at my home. I kind of helped raise my nieces and nephews. So I figured I would be good at that. And then in the 6th grade, I had the opportunity to fly to Portland, Oregon to visit one of my sisters. And I saw the flight attendants and I thought they were just like supermodels. And they were so helpful and everything. So I was like, you know what, maybe I'll do that. But that way I can travel and see different places because I hadn't been anywhere, being from a small town in Mississippi. So then I said, well, I'll do that. But neither of those happened though. And with the career that I did end up with, it was that fateful day when an Air Force recruiter came to our school, had a school assembly, and he told us all about joining the Air Force and flying the friendly skies and traveling and everything that sounded so amazing. I was like, like light bulbs over my head. That's what I'm gonna do. And because I didn't have any money to go to school, I mean, I love school, but in my situation, my father passed away when I was 4. And then my mother was killed in a car accident when I was 7, right down the street from our house, pretty much. And so I lived with my sister, and I was older than all of her children. And I was 7 when my mom got killed. So it's like I had to grow up overnight. All of a sudden I was doing everything. So I was ready to get out of there. I actually joined as soon as I turned 18. And so I signed up, but I couldn't go in. The first job they offered me was air traffic controller. And I don't know if you're old enough to remember President Reagan.
Yes.
But
I certainly am.
They were having an air traffic controller strike at the time. So they were trying to bring in people to fill those spots and train them. And so the next job that came up was aerospace physiology. And I was like, that sound important.
Very important.
Especially for, like I said, a good girl out of Mississippi. I was like, just the name. I didn't know what it was, but I was ready to go. And so that's how my job chose me. I didn't choose it. My career chose me. So I've been very, very fortunate.
Through this all, originally you wanted to work with children, and then you thought about being a flight attendant, and now aerospace physiology. What was your journey like from losing your parents all the way up till now? What has the journey been like for you?
It's been amazing. I really can't complain. I always tease and say God was trying to make up to me by giving me these amazing careers because he took my parents from me. Because I felt like he didn't love me anymore after that happened, after both my parents died. I was like, he doesn't love me. So I'm gonna be stuck here being a homemaker for the rest of my life, taking care of all these kids and doing all the chores. And it was I kind of felt like Cinderella a little bit, you know? And so when I finally got out of there and I thought I had the most amazing job in the world in the Air Force, because that's where I got all my training to do the job, to set me up for the opportunity to work with a space program. I worked with the pressure suits in the Air Force. So they trained me to do my job. So in the Air Force, my main job was working with the altitude chambers, the hypobaric chamber, and the hyperbaric chambers, the dive chamber. And this was on the medical side of the house. And so the chambers would simulate, I don't know if you've ever seen like maybe Top Gun or one of those movies where
Yes.
they're in a big box and they have the mask on and they're simulating going to altitude and they take it off and then they don't know what to do. You know, they're
Right.
like, so that was my main career.
I see.
But being at this particular base, Beale Air Force Base, an extra duty was working with the pressure suits. So I was like, that's the fun part. I'm so glad, because the chambers were so boring. And so suiting up the crew members and all the same equipment that they use with Space Shuttle, same exact equipment. So I did that for 7.5 years. And I went ahead and decided to separate from the Air Force, even though it was amazing. I got to travel for free. I mean, work, you know, you might work 3 days out the week while you're on travel. So I really thoroughly enjoyed my time in the Air Force. I wouldn't trade. That's the best. And you know, the reason I went in was to go to school. So they paid for my college. Didn't take one class.
Really? So you really went in so you could get free tuition, which is
Exactly, because that was the big seller that he said in the assembly. And I knew I didn't have any money to go to school, and I loved school. But they gave me this amazing job where every 2 months I'm going to another country. Every 2 months.
what a dream job. It sounds so exciting.
It was awesome.
Now on this particular journey of yours, you must have had people that played into your success. So out of all of your family members, friends, teachers, who are the people that stand out to you the most?
First would be Mrs. Jennings, my second grade teacher. Because after my mom was killed, she noticed a change in me, how withdrawn I was, because I was that kid that always raised her hand. I loved school, you know. She noticed this change in me, and I think I might have been depressed, of course, because I was really close with my mom, even though I was only 7. Ooh, girl, hold on. So Mrs. Jennings noticed this, and so she would pay me so much extra attention. She would hug on me because I wasn't getting that anymore. Like I said, my sister's kids were all younger than me. She didn't have time to baby me. She had all 5 other little bitty kids younger than me. After that, I can't not give my sister, my older sister that raised me, Irma Jean Martin. I cannot, even though the situation I was in wasn't ideal, she still helped shape me into the woman I am. Next is Mrs. Shirley Owens. She was my high school teacher in drama and English. That little funk I was in the 2nd grade, it came back because I didn't know, once again, I didn't know what I was gonna do because I didn't have money to go to school. I didn't know about getting grants. I didn't know what to do, you know. And so she made me believe I was the best thing since sliced bread. She did. She made me believe I would walk around like, you know, chest out, all because once I talked to her, and she made me believe it. And she would just tell me, Sharon, and she had that voice, and she would just make you feel like you could do anything. She did. And if it wasn't for her, I don't know what choice I would have chosen. If I would have even chosen the Air Force, because I might have thought I wasn't good enough, you know? And a lot of my coworkers through the years, as far as in the Air Force, one in particular, Ray Villalobos, really Raulo Villalobos, but he went by Ray. He's from Peru. He was like my partner in crime in the Air Force. We were really close. And he's the one, because of him that I have this career in aerospace out here in the space program. I was struggling, Maria. I was struggling. After I got out the Air Force, I was sleeping on my friend's futon. I couldn't get a full-time job because all I had done was pressure suits, right? So where am I going to work? I was still in California. It's very expensive. I was putting price tags on clothes in a warehouse in the daytime. And like I said, they wouldn't hire you full-time. They give you 4 to 6 hours. At night, I would go and clean an office building. And then I had another little part-time job where at like Office Depot, stacking the shelves, putting stuff on the shelves. And I went from being in this super cool job to barely making it, no benefits, nothing. Thank God my car was already paid off because I had been in the Air Force over 7 years, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I was thinking about going back into the military because I was having a hard time. I just couldn't, and I didn't know anything else but the military my whole adult life.
Mm-hmm.
And Ray Villalobos, he tracked me down. He called me. I don't know how he found me, but I'm thank God he did, because this was before Facebook and all that, you know.
Right.
And he called, he said, Sharon, they have an immediate opening out here at Boeing Aerospace Operations with the space shuttle program. And I'm just like floored. And I'm like, okay, so why are you telling me? It's not even clicking.
You're like, so? And?
He's like, call this number right now and talk to them. And I'm like, I don't know these people. He just call and talk to him. He's like, shut up and call him right now. It's immediate. I mean, the guy just quit just now. And so I called and talked to the supervisor over the phone, and he told me to come out whenever you're ready. Girl, I about fell out.
You ran to it, right?
Yes. I got in my car,
ran.
threw my little clothes in that car, and drove from California to Texas. Right.
So
I was like, this is amazing. They didn't fly me out for an interview, second interview and all that, just over the phone. And you know I walked on water. You know I walked on water on the phone, right?
And so did Mr. Villalobos for getting you the job,
and
right?
You know what? And I always tell kids, I was like, you just never know. You never know. If Ray, I called him Lobo, Lobo was his nickname. If Lobo would not have thought highly of me and I hadn't done a good job, he wouldn't have put his stamp or his name on me.
What an incredible story you have. So, woo, you know, it's just, I mean, even going back to your family,
Yeah.
you know, I think about losing your family so young. I mean, the memories that you have of your mother and father are just so precious because they were just there at the best time that they could possibly be. I'm so sorry.
I know. I'll be trying because, you know, I got them lashes on. I can't be.
I left mine off today because I knew I was going to be crying somewhere. I left my lashes off because I just knew that this was going to be so inspirational and just knowing what I know about you. So in case I left mine off.
Smart girl. So with my father, you know, he died. I was so young. I only have one memory of him. I don't even remember his face. I remember his pant leg. So I was 4. I'm assuming he had just come back from fishing or something and had a horseshoe crab, was kind of scooting around on the ground, and I got scared and I jumped up and I was standing on his shoe holding his pant leg. That's the only memory I have, period. And I hate that I can't remember him. I mean, I have a couple of photos, but still the memory's not there. My mom, I can remember like yesterday. She took me everywhere with her. And let me tell you, this might make you cry. Let me get mine together. The day when she got killed in the car accident, we had one of the steel, you know, the old timey station wagons that was like steel. I mean, a hard, big, heavy duty car. Because I'm number 9 of 12. I don't know if I mentioned that. I'm number 9 of 12 children.
No, you didn't, but this is so great to know. 9 out of 12. That's
Engine number 9. So that day when of the accident, I did my normal. I jumped in the front seat. I remember like it was yesterday. I had my box of Cracker Jacks. I was eating. I was sitting on the seat on my knees, ready to go. And she looked at me and she said, "You stay here this time, baby." Girl, she knew. She knew something was gonna happen, and she saved me. And so I pouted for a minute, but then you get that mama look, and then you go ahead and you get your butt out the car. So I went inside. She went to get some seafood for dinner. She was going to a place called Bozo's at home in our little town. Mm-hmm. And a little bit later, you know, like I said, it's a small. You hear all the ambulances and sirens and everything. And it's like I said, it's right down the street. So all the older kids ran down to see what happened, which is what they do, you know, in a small town. Everybody went to see what happened. And I was told my brother was one of the first ones to make it there. He's 3 years older than me, Stanley. He made it there and saw our mom laying out on the street bed. This guy was under the influence. He was in kind of like a racing type car. He had run the stop sign, hit her on the driver's side with such force that it knocked her out the passenger side. Oh. The whole seat came out on top of her, and I was told her neck broke is how she died. So I'm not, I'm not sure on the, but that's what I was told. That's how she got killed. He was going that fast in this little bitty block. I think it was 2 or 3 blocks from our house, which are small blocks, not city blocks. So that was in August. She was only 40 years old. Only 40 years old.
She was so young.
Yep. And still had these babies because I had 2 more sisters under me. And her last child, or my little sister Allison, she had passed away at like 2 weeks. She was having respiratory problems. So it hadn't been too long since she had her either. So she was young, yeah. And it's just like, oh, and so another thing, I was told he was sitting in his car and he just passed away. So I don't know if he had a stroke or heart attack or what. They said they just found him like with his head laying back in the seat, sitting in his car. And so because of that, I did not learn how to drive till my senior year. I was so petrified that I would get in a car accident or I would die in a car. So I wouldn't drive. I finally learned how to drive because I was like, I'm going away to the military. I'm going to have to know how to drive. And that's the only reason I finally learned how to drive, because I was so scared of it because both my parents were in vehicles when they died,
Oh.
So yeah, I know, girl, even though it was all those years ago.
So, Mae Jemison, what was a typical day working at NASA with Mae Jemison?
Oh, a typical day working with Mae Jemison or any other astronaut, because I suited up many astronauts besides Mae, but that was the history making one, of course, would be they get assigned to their mission about a year prior to actual launch. Once they get assigned, they come in and they get a fit check. So we do all of their measurements. So after that, then their normal day. So we know what size suit, gloves, and CCA and all that stuff that they wear. So a normal day, they're coming in for a training event. We would come in about an hour prior to the crew members getting there. And crew members is astronauts, y'all. So if I go back and forth, because we call them crew members. We didn't call them astronauts pretty much. And so we would show up and it would be from 5 to 7 crew members on a mission assigned. You would get assigned to a crew member. But funny story before I forget. I didn't get assigned to Mae Jemison. She assigned herself to Mae Jemison. I heard the first sister was getting ready to go in space. Girl, I was waiting like a pit bull for them to write her name on the board. So my supervisor comes out when the astronauts get assigned to a crew. We had a big plexiglass board in our lab, and the supervisor will come out and write the astronaut's name on the board. Then he'd write the crew that's assigned. And as he wrote the astronaut name up there, as soon as he wrote Jemison, I took his marker and wrote my name right by hers. And I looked around like I dare somebody to say something. Because they knew I'm the only Black woman there, and the first Black woman going to space. That's a no-brainer, no-brainer.
It's history, right? It's history in the making. Who else, who better?
And I don't even think about me making history because she's the first Black astronaut. I'm thinking, I'm just a regular job, regular worker. But I was making history as well because I was only and the first Black woman in my department.
Right.
The only one, the whole time I was there.
Mm-hmm.
So they come in, they get their diaper and their underwear, and they go in the restroom and they change into that. And so I tell everybody, we don't put the diaper on for them. So then they come out in their undies, they sit down, we'll make sure nothing's on the bottom of their socks, so they don't puncture the suit or anything. And they sit down and they do it one leg at a time. As I tell the kids, they're not superheroes. They don't just jump in and it's on. They just like regular people, one leg at a time, one arm, and then the neck seal that's right up under the helmet. That's right up, they have to pop their head through there. Oh, and so the zipper is all the way from the top of their neck, all the way to the front in the crotch area.
Oh, I see.
So we help them with that. Of course, they're suiting themselves up in space, but we're showing them the proper way to do everything while they're on Earth, and also training them on how not to bang up our equipment and damage it so much because they're going to be packing it up and everything when they're in space and on these training events as well. So they get that on. I snap the zipper in the front. They sit back down, get the boots on immediately because we don't want to put a hole in the suit.
Right.
So we put the suit, so we do, like I said, I didn't get to work with kids as kindergarten, but I was still their mom. I was still kind of working. I had to tell them everything to do, get them dressed.
Incredible.
So put the boots on, lace them up. And then the next thing will be the communications cap. So it has the earphones and the microphones. And so then you put your helmet on and make it click into the neck ring. And the communication cap hooks up inside to the helmet, and the helmet would hook up to the spacecraft. And that's how they would talk. Houston, we have a problem. That's it.
Right.
And so once they got to, then we go out and we have the harnesses laid out by the motion base. The harnesses, as I mentioned earlier, was with the life preserving unit and the water packs and the oxygen, emergency oxygen, if they had to bail out.
Right.
So put that on them and we strap that across their chest and tighten it and everything. And then they walk up the steps to get into the orbiter.
Right.
And when they get inside is when they put on their helmet and their gloves once they're in their seat. And remember, once again, they're lying on their backs. And when they, for real launch today, they're lying on their backs about 3.5 hours before they launch, which is why they wear that diaper, because once they're strapped in, it's no getting up, let me go to the restroom. And we tell everybody to wear your diaper anyway, because you never know if you're gonna have an accident. And if you do, and you don't have that diaper on, you gotta wear that same smelly suit back home when it's time to come back. So just wear your diaper. Nobody sees it, you know, just wear it. And a lot of them had a mental block with it though, Maria. They would, I suggested one take a diaper home, and they do. And they lay in the bathtub with this diaper on to simulate them laying inside the space shuttle to like force themselves to, you know, use it, because it's, you know, you've been your whole life, don't wet on yourself and don't poop on yourself.
Right.
So now they got to make themselves do it, make themselves use it. And we've had a few guys that wouldn't wear it, you know, they just macho, I'm not wearing a diaper. It's like, okay,
Man.
hope you don't have accidents.
Man.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a normal day.
Can you tell us about a couple of milestones in your life?
Well, a few milestones that I achieved that I am proud of. I'll try to go in order. Was of course just getting a job. Let's not forget that.
One. That's number one.
And like I said, later on, I wasn't thinking of anything being historical or anything, but by me being the first Black person, period, not just Black woman, but the first Black person, period, in the Space Shuttle Crew Escape Equipment Department, and started at the very bottom as a C technician, which is the bottom. You can't go no lower, even though I already had 7.5 years experience, right?
Right.
And so after that, I got assigned to my first mission within a year. So I was proud of that, which I knew once I got there and they saw my work ethic and that I knew what I was doing, that I would move up. And keep in mind, I did all this without a college degree, y'all. Keep that in mind.
That's
so
fantastic.
after that, my next major one was becoming a crew chief. First woman, period. First Black person, period. Me.
Tell people what a crew chief is.
You lead, instead of just being a technician working on a team, you're leading the team that goes down, that does all the training with astronauts, that goes down to launch and landing with astronauts. You're in charge of that team. So I have like 4 to 5 technicians under me, and I'm making sure everything gets done perfect. It's on me. So I was a crew chief, and as a crew chief, my most memorable moment was this is the only time we had enough women in our department to do an all-girl suit tech crew.
Oh.
First and only time it ever happened, because with this male-dominated field, right? So this is the first time we had enough girls in there, and I was the lead of the team. And it was one of the most perfect, no issues. I mean, nothing got broke, you know, everything was perfect. Another one, I'm sorry, of course, Mae Jemison. That was before I even became a crew chief. That was like the highlight of one of the highlights of my career, you know, because I was the only Black woman, and I'm suiting up the first Black woman, and I'm the only Black woman in my department. All that came about later. And you know when it really hit? When the movie Hidden Figures came out. That's when it really hit me. I'm like,
with all of the with the space shuttle.
I was out there for 22 years, Maria. I never heard of not one of these women. 22 years working with the space shuttle program. Never heard of none of their accomplishments. Never. Not a plaque nowhere. Not a PowerPoint. Nothing. Never heard of them. I heard of them the same time everybody else did. And I was just like, I was mad as all get out. And then I was like, well, I'm glad their story is finally being told.
Yeah.
And so that prompted me. And a couple of my friends was like, girl, you ought to tell. I was like, I thought I wasn't hitting. I was in pictures with Dr. Jemison. I was in a little video clip with Dr. I wasn't hitting. So I wasn't thinking that nobody didn't know. I was hidden in plain sight. Nobody ever asked who was that girl there suiting up Dr. Jemison. Who's that girl right there in the picture with her? Nobody. Never called me, never said nothing to me. But I still just assumed people knew because I'm in the picture. But not
right.
So I reached out to my hometown newspaper. And Mr. Tyler Carter, thank you. He was a reporter for Mississippi Press, and he said, "Oh, I would love to do your story." And I was like, "Okay." So when I was home for Thanksgiving in 2017, and we talked, and he wrote the story, and then it just started kind of spreading after that. And then social media, of course, it was a big boost for it, because you could get it out to a lot more people. And when I saw Badass Women Over 50, I was like, "That's me. Let me call her."
Yes, it is.
I was like,
I'm gonna all of you. You've led an incredible life. You've had so much success. You've named so many milestones. If you could speak to your younger self, what would you tell your younger self?
Ooh, what would I tell my younger self? So I would tell her it's going to get so much better.
Right.
You're going to have a great husband, a great family. You're going to live a charmed life. I mean, it's really been amazing. And that's what a lot of people, my friends I made out here when my story came out, it's like, how are you so happy after going through all that? I think you choose it. You choose to be happy. You can choose to wallow in self-pity and woe is me and this happened, or you can choose to be happy and go on. And that's what I chose. I chose happiness.
So Sharon, tell me about your family. Tell me about your husband and your children.
I would love to tell you about my husband and children, Maria. My husband, Ronald McDougle, he is everything you can ask for in a spouse. He is amazing. I could not have accomplished any of this without him, any of it. And you know why? Because I got here in 1990, met him in 91, even though we grew up together. I met him as an adult in 19. We graduated same year and everything, high school, kindergarten, all the way through high school. But we never dated, looked at each other like that or anything. I got here in 90, 91, I was home for the 4th of July. And so was he, because he was living in Florida at the time. And the little local Elks Club, everybody go, when they come home for the holidays to go party. I was already sitting in there in the club. I had on my come get me dress.
What color?
Pink, girl, hot pink.
Hot pink.
And I was sitting there looking
at me dress.
Yes. Spandex, yes.
That is a come get me dress for sure.
Come get me dress, remember that. And we've been sitting there, and I was actually about to go because it was kind of dead. Nobody wasn't there yet. And you get there early to get a table, right? So anyway, he walks in. I didn't recognize him because he's a man now, girl. He's filled out. He got shoulders and got a suit on and a haircut, and because he had the little mullet in high school, And he was a little lighter complected. He was, because when you're young, you're outside playing all the time, so you're a little darker. And he walked in and he had a drink with a straw, and he was looking at me all sexy. And I looked at him, and I'm getting offended. I'm like, who is this little white boy looking at? I was real fair. Okay, so he's still being sexy looking at me, and he walks right into the table and trips over the table, girl. I fall out because he's looking at me instead of looking where he's going. So he tripped over the table, right? So later on, the night go by, how the guys congregate by the restroom.
Yeah.
I go to the restroom. His brother's there. His brother looks the same exact way in school. I was like, hey, Dwight, and gave him a hug. My husband. I wouldn't even say nothing to her if I was you. And I looked at him. I'm ready to fight. I'm looking at him like, what is your problem? And his brother said, Sharon, you don't know who that is? I was like, no, but he about to get it. And he was like, that's your classmate. That's Morano. And I looked, and then, after he said that, then I could see that is Morano. And so I gave him a hug. He picked me up.
That was it. That was it. Okay.
Girl, come get me dress about to come off. I was like,
that was it.
I'm serious. We were together all night after that. All night. And then I left that Sunday and I cried. I never cry over no guy. We were just together a weekend, girl. I cried when I left.
It was magic.
I'm serious. I'll tell him, hold on. I'll tell him, my mom sent him to me. They got the same birthday, August 2nd. I thought he was playing when he said that. I'm like, are you trying to play? I thought I was being pranked for real. I was like, let me see your license. It said August 2nd. Girl, I started crying.
Oh my
And
goodness.
I knew, that's what I knew. I knew she sent him. Because, I mean, we done grew up together, never dated, never nothing. And so guess who moved out here that next weekend?
He did.
Girl,
You did. Wait.
I was already here. He moved out here.
The bag packed.
The next weekend. And we've been together ever since. We've been married 28 years. This year will be 29.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And my beautiful children, Dominique is my firstborn. And she's that's my mini me, even though she's more muscular and built than me. I'll say mini me because she's younger. But she plays football. She is.
That's fantastic.
She said she's hanging her cleats up this year, though. This is last year. But she plays with the Houston Energy, which is the top team out here in this area. And she just does it all. She's really into health and meal prepping and all that. And she works at a company, Axion Logistics out here. And then my son works for the city of LaPorte. And he is, Dominique will be 27 this year, and Corbin will be 23. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yep. And I love Corbin, he does also, besides working for the city, he does computer work where he makes these little cartoons and things. I don't even know what it's called, girl.
Animation?
Yeah,
Animation.
He does that. Yeah. And so that's his part-time job. And I didn't even know he had that talent. He was showing me, I was like, let me see what you do for your other job. I said, your computer job. He showed me, and it's like he put the little virtual reality goggles on and all this. I'm like, that is amazing. And he didn't even go to school for that. He just does it.
Like a natural talent. So he does VR, he's an animator, and your daughter plays football for
and she works at
male team.
Materials management. Mm-hmm. Yep.
And what is she?
And my husband is I told you he's a scuba diver for NASA.
He's a scuba diver. Wow.
So the big pool where the astronauts train, because there's no weightless gravity room. That people think room, they go in and click. No. They put on the EMU, that white suit, right? And they go underwater, and they have a full mock-up of either whatever spacecraft they're working on at the time. Like at the time when I was there, it was the space shuttle, a full mock-up of it underwater. So they can practice doing their spacewalks and fixing on things and stuff underwater, because that's the closest they can get to a weightless environment. So my husband's underwater also, and he's got the camera, he's videotaping all their training so they can watch it later to see what they did right, wrong, whatever. Yeah,
that's incredible.
And then also he goes underwater to fix if something on the mock-up needs to be fixed. Instead of putting that whole thing out, think of all the money that costs to pull the whole thing out, let it dry, blah, blah. He goes down there and fix it real time underwater if something's wrong.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah, he's amazing. But anyway, he held, like I mentioned, my career wouldn't have been possible without him, because he held down the household, because I was going a lot for launches, TCDTs, landings. I would have to go a lot. Even when I was pregnant, they've been down for launches in my belly. Landings. He would have to be here, combing hair, taking the kids to school, handling the bills, doing all that stuff while I'm out living my life, So if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have been able to do that job with the family.
And that's a great thing. Some people call it role reversal. I just call it life. We never know what we're going to have to do. Sharon, can you tell me how important it is to give back to the community and do volunteer work?
Oh, most definitely. I can tell you about giving back and how important it is. I always think about how I didn't have that in our community. And it's so important to volunteer, even if you weren't never in a situation where you needed it. But I started volunteering in high school, and it was with the Down syndrome babies. I started volunteering, and then in the Olympics, they used to do the little Olympics with the little kids and stuff, and being one of the catchers when they're racing to catch them. Right. And so that started it. I think it helped me more than it helped the people that I'm helping. I felt my heart would just feel like it grew every time I volunteered. Knowing that I'm helping somebody else, not even that they're less fortunate, but just somebody that needs help. Period. Whether it's one person or a group of people. And so I continued that, especially through my job. In the Air Force, I didn't do as much as I'd like because I traveled a lot. But after I got out the military, I started back when I came back out here. I started back volunteering. And then my company was big with volunteering. So, I mean, I do everything from, walkathons that everybody do, to working at food pantries, to reading to children is my most favorite. I don't even feel like that's volunteer. That's just fun. I get to dress up in a costume, and play out the characters and read to the babies and see the little faces light up. And that's just the best feeling in the world. I'm a big kid. You can't tell if you can't tell. But
Me too.
I am, girl. I get all down on the floor with them and just have a good time. And I mean, everything from even the more serious stuff. Like we went and cooked at the Ronald McDonald House for the people that were staying there waiting for their children's operations or whatever. I would go online and look for opportunities. I wouldn't wait for them to come to me, because some people do tell me about things, but I go search online and see what's out there that needs help. The kids meals, where you go and pack up the little bag lunches for the kids and give out water, and I mean, just everything. Anything you can do to help somebody. Whether it's an hour, I've been doing virtual volunteering, speaking to the schools over. That's why I got my little backdrop already, because I've been speaking to schools already about what I did, or reading a book to them over online. I mean, it's so much you can do. I'm not saying it's bad to give money, but just making donations all the time, you need to put your boots on the ground and go out into the community and volunteer and help. Because you never know. You might be in that situation one day and need that help. And you want somebody to be there for you. So please, and it makes you a more well-rounded person. You're more appreciative of what you have, So just give back. It doesn't take much. Like I said, it can be an hour, it can be 4 hours. Do something.
Badass Women 50 Plus is designed to feature stories of women that are inspirational, and today's interview has certainly actualized this mission. Now, Webster's dictionary gives a definition of inspirational as a person that motivates mentally or emotionally. They make us want to go beyond ourselves, and Sharon McDougle does just that. She is a woman who has gone through so much in life, but through it all, she has remained resilient and positive, and she never let uncertainty and fear overcome her. And with that courage, she has broken normative boundaries. And we trust that you have enjoyed today's show just as much as we have in bringing it to you. You can watch the extended interview on YouTube, and you can listen to us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And remember, we are on the last Tuesday of every month. See you next time.